full and complete ceasefire, withdrawal of Israeli forces from all the populated areas of Gaza, and the release of a number of hostages held by Hamas.
We got some bombshell news here. Welcome back to Moose on Loose. My name's David, and today's top story here. We've got peace in the Middle East. That's right. Israel and Hamas have come to a ceasefire deal. I didn't think this day was coming, but they have apparently reached a deal. We've also got a bunch of other stuff here going on in Canada. Let's jump into this. Got this one here from Melissa. It says 6 out of 10 Canadians with the highest percent of foreign-born residents are in Canada. And number one on the list, Brampton. Is anyone surprised? At 59.1%. You got Miami at 57.9%, Mississauga at 57%, Toronto, Surrey, Vancouver, all around 50%, Sydney, Australia, Auckland, San Jose, and Montreal at 41%. And we've also got this one here saying this really puts things into perspective, especially since Canada was the fourth largest growing population on Earth, only behind Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Oman. Got this one here from a new report. It says 50% of Canadians are $200 or less away from going broke. Trudeau's Canada, folks. We've got an update here from this wingnut, Olivia Chow. It says she proposes a 6.9% total property tax increase in the city's latest city budget. That's right, folks. You're living in Toronto. You're about to get some serious property tax hike. Next up, we got a clip here of someone sitting in their car and a guy in Brampton tries to break into it, not realizing someone is in the car.
What's the guy doing? I had to open my door. What the hell?
So the door was open while the guy's doing it, realized someone's in there. It's just ridiculous. Next up on CBC here, we've got this clip here where David Cochrane asks her about the Liberal leadership race, and she absolutely just rips Carney on his interview on Jon Stewart.
This week, Amanda, Mark Carney is going to be on The Daily Show tonight with Jon Stewart, which is interesting. He will announce either Thursday or Friday of this week, is what I'm told.
So this has already happened, but...
And Chrystia Freeland will announce officially before the 20th of January. She'll get in before Donald Trump gets into the White House. Your thoughts on the Liberal race, where it is?
I mean, like, pre-launching your campaign on The Daily Show is an idiotic idea that I can't...
This may have been pre-scheduled, but I just to let you know that. Just let you know that.
Schedules can be changed. Yeah. So anyway, okay, fine. I mean, we'll flit down after our private box at Wimbledon, but okay.
This week, Amanda.
That's hilarious. And just a few seconds here of Scott Moe on CBC.
With Premier Smith, you know, a lot of talk about signal and noise and taking Trump seriously, but not literally. What do you draw from where the country and the economy is a week away from Donald Trump going back to the White House?
Well, I think that is the point, is to take, what President-elect Trump says seriously, but maybe not take all of it literally. Listen.
That's a very interesting take there. This is kind of falls in line with what Kevin O'Leary's been saying, as David Cochrane just mentioned, the signal and the noise. Donald Trump is a guy who will push, and then he pulls back and gets the deal. And he gets the deal much further ahead than maybe where the initial 50-50 agreement would have been. That's his negotiating style. Hopefully that's what he's doing with the tariffs in our country. And he's not just going to decimate our economy as a political move, jumping back into the Oval Office. Next up on this clip here, they talk about Karina Gould and her running for Prime Minister. This is a joke.
Karina told me she was thinking of running. I was really excited because she connects with people in a way that very few people are able to. I mean, we're neighbors, are riding. So I've seen her closely since 2015. And, you know, whether it's seniors or whether it's young people,
she doesn't connect with anyone. She's just a liar. She lies in the House of Commons. The whole scandal with the SDTC document saying it was against the law what the Conservatives were doing, the fact that they broke the law and they didn't want to hand over the documents to the police, and then she defended that. It's absolutely dastardly.
Has a way of connecting people together, and I think it's really exciting that she's considering running.
I quickly just ask you as a follow-up, is she going to be able to raise the $350,000? And that's no shade to Minister Gould, whom I've interviewed on numerous occasions. But Chrystia Freeland and Mark Carney are, if you look at, again, polls that have been done even as recently as by Leger over the past few days, like clearly front runners in the race.
Well, I mean, I don't think she'd be looking at doing this if she wasn't prepared to raise the money. And, you know, when I was little, my dad used to tell me the story of the little engine. And the little engine went up the mountain and he said, I think I can. And he got over the top and he said, I thought I could. And if any...
Yeah, none of them could. Look at this. 3%. He's got more than her. You can't make this stuff up. The guy who barely speaks English, can't speak French, he's got 3% over Karina Gould. And you'll notice here, Mark Carbon Tax Carney sitting at the highest at 27. Freeland, it's a little off screen, but 21%. So we really know this is a two-horse race here all the other ones are out. This is funny, though. He's got more than Anita Nand.
Everybody embodies that. It's Karina Gould. You know, she does the work. She works hard. She inspires people. And I have no doubt that she'll be able to do whatever she needs to do to be really competitive in this race and win it.
I just have time.
She's polling at 1% and she's deciding to enter the race. Are you kidding me? Who's donating to her to go do this? It's just throwing money away to the Liberal Party. Next up, we got this one here. It says Ontario is changing the rules under the Highway Traffic Act to increase the amount of property damage required to report a collision to the police from $2,000 to $5,000. This is just sad. I mean, really, the cops are swarmed. I brought up that map of Mississauga. There's just so much crime, you can't even see them all when you zoom out. Does this mean higher insurance? The insurance is going to continually go up in Canada because there's way too much crime. And if you think about it, it's really sad. So say if a business owner has a glass smashed on the front of their business, then that business will no longer go out and buy new cabinets. And then that cabinet maker doesn't make money. The original business had to buy new glass and pay for the insurance deductible and all that stuff. And that just hurts business after business, Canadian after Canadian. Maybe those businesses would have hired someone, but instead they're paying for all this stuff because someone backed an SUV into their jewelry store and now they can't afford that. This crime is destroying our country. We got Joe Biden here 5 days before he is done as prime minister, announcing that this deal between Hamas and Israel.
And soon the hostages will return home to their families. The elements of this deal were what I laid out in detail this past May, which was embraced by countries around the world and endorsed overwhelmingly by the UN Security Council. The deal is structured in 3 phases. Phase 1 will last 6 weeks. It includes a full and complete ceasefire, withdrawal of Israeli forces from all the populated areas of Gaza, and the release of a number of hostages held by Hamas, including women and elderly and the wounded. And I'm proud to say Americans will be part of that hostage release in Phase 1 as well. And the Vice President and I cannot wait to welcome them home. In exchange, Israel released hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. And during Phase 1, the Palestinians can also return to their neighborhoods in all the areas of Gaza. And the surge of humanitarian assistance into Gaza will begin. And the innocent people can have a greater access to these vital supplies. You know, during the next 6 weeks, Israel will negotiate the necessary arrangements to get Phase 2, which is a permanent end of the war. Let me say it again, a permanent end of the war.
So they're starting off here with a 6-week ceasefire and then going to a permanent deal to end this. So I don't know if he is getting this in order because he is heading out right now and Trump's coming in 5 days. It's a little fishy that all these protests and chants were happening as Trudeau and Biden are in power. And suddenly as Trump is coming in, there's an end to all this stuff.
There are a number of details to negotiate to move from Phase 1 to Phase 2, but the plan says if negotiations take longer than 6 weeks, the ceasefire will continue as long as the negotiations continue. I've spoken to the Emir of Kuwait and the President of Egypt, and we have pledged to make sure the negotiations will keep moving forward for as long as it takes. Then, when Phase 2 begins, there will be an exchange for release of the remaining living hostages, including male soldiers, and all remaining Israeli forces will be withdrawn from Gaza.
So they're basically getting this deal going before Trump gets into power to kind of get the ball rolling, and then it will continue until there's a deal. Who knows what Trump does with this? He has no reason to interfere in this, but you never know.
And the temporary ceasefire will become permanent. And finally, Phase 3, any final remains of hostages who have been killed will be returned to their families, and a major reconstruction plan for Gaza will begin. This is the ceasefire agreement I introduced last spring. Today, Hamas and Israel have agreed to that ceasefire agreement and the whole ending the war. You know, those of you who have followed the negotiations can attest, the road to this deal has not been easy. I've worked in foreign policy for decades. This is one of the toughest negotiations I've ever experienced. And we reached this point because of the pressure that Israel built on Hamas backed by the United States. Hamas's longtime leader, Sinwar, was killed. Hamas's strongest supporter, Iran, launched attacks in Israel. And those attacks failed after my administration organized a coalition of nations to stop them. And after I ordered the U.S. ships and planes to come to Israel's defense, we also shaped Israel's strong and calibrated response, destroying Iran's air defenses, but avoiding an escalatory cycle of an all-out war.
So it's definitely changed the landscape over there, not only with what's gone on in Iran, but also with Syria being overthrown. Times are changing here on planet Earth.
The United States also organized a coalition of 20 countries to stand up to attacks by the Houthis, including their missile attacks in Israel. Then Hezbollah, another of Hamas's strongest backers, was significantly weakened on the battlefield, and its leadership was destroyed. With our support, Israel negotiated a ceasefire with them, and after that, Lebanon finally elected a new president who's not beholden to Hezbollah, and he began a new chapter for the Lebanese people. All told, these developments in the region, which the United States helped to shape, changed the equation. And so now, the terror network that once protected and sustained Hamas is far weaker. Iran is weaker. Iran is weaker than it's been in decades. Hezbollah is badly degraded. And after more than 15 months of war, Hamas's senior leaders are dead. Thousands of Hamas fighters are dead. And the military formations have been destroyed. With nowhere to turn, Hamas finally agreed to releasing hostages.
So this is something interesting here. You got Yahya Sinwar and all these other top officials getting taken out. They lost so much power, and then Trump is coming in. They were probably like, we better make a deal, because otherwise Trump just might come in and completely decimate us. You never know. You have the Taliban tweeting after Trump won, wanting to make a deal, wanting to have peace. Coming from that group of all people. There's a lot of groups over in the Middle East that are absolutely terrified of Donald Trump. So the timing of this, sure, Biden has been working on this for a while, but he didn't have the presence that terrified them. I'm sure they worked through their deal, but it was probably both aspects of a proper deal plus the fear of Trump coming in that really pushes forward.
You know, there was no other way for this war to end than with a hostage deal. And I'm deeply satisfied this day has finally come, for the sake of the people of Israel and the families waiting in agony, and for the sake of the innocent people in Gaza who suffered unimaginable devastation because of the war. The Palestinian people have gone through hell. Too many innocent people have died. Too many communities have been destroyed. In this deal, the people of Gaza can finally recover and rebuild. They can look to a future without Hamas in power. You know, the Bible says, blessed are the peacemakers. Many peacemakers helped make this deal happen, including an extraordinary team of American diplomats who have worked nonstop for months to get this done.
This is great this has happened, because this has spilled over into way too many countries. This madness had to end, and hopefully we'll see a stop to it in our streets, the protesting, all the stuff that's going on in America, all over the world, really. Will they stop protesting now is the key question I'm wondering about. So jumping over on X, I took a look. There's some cheering. There's also a lot of chaos going on in Palestine, in Gaza. I can't show any of that stuff on here because it's too chaotic for this platform, but we'll see if this all goes through.
How much credit do you give to the Trump team for this deal? Trump is already taking credit for it.
This is the exact framework of the deal I proposed back in May. Exact. And we got the world to endorse it. Secondly, it's America's support for Israel that helped them badly weaken Hamas and its backers and create the conditions for this deal. And thirdly, I knew this deal would have to be implemented by the next team. So I told my team to coordinate closely with the incoming team to make sure we're all speaking with the same voice, because that's what American presidents do.
At the very end, they basically ask him the same question again.
Credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump?
All right, so we have been listening.
Is that a joke? Oh, thank you.
Permanent end to the war. How many times has this permanent ended in their history? Yeah, talks didn't get mentioned until Trump got elected. They barely beat the clock. That's really what seems what happened here. They got nervous because Trump was coming in. They decided to actually start making some deals. The fact he's coming out of the gate here talking about buying Greenland, Panama Canal, Canada, the whole business, they probably got pretty nervous about what would happen over there. With that, we have 5 days until Trump becomes president again in America on Monday. Place your bets down below. Do you think he puts tariffs on us right away? Was it all a bunch of bluster or something in between?